Hello and welcome. It is the end of the 13th day of October 2019. Having one of those memory kind of days as you have an idea in your head and you didn't follow through, although I wish I would have. Whether it would have ended up working out or not, one way or another, it probably would have. Which meant this is 2011 and that was accumulating Bitcoin. It would definitely not have been when it was a dollar because I know exactly what my thoughts were in November 2010 into February 2011. And I remember it was when silver prices were doing well, which would have been post the breakout period for silver was basically at the start of this chart. That's when silver broke 20, went its way to 50. 50 happened somewhere at this top in this $3 top. So whether it was on the way up here, but more realistically, even at the top, it wouldn't have mattered. I mean, think of anyone saying, "Oh my goodness, you bought at the $31 hot top, and look what happened. You ended up losing. Holy crap, you lost like 90 plus percent of your value. How could you sleep at night?" And then you waited and you waited and then you waited, and well, it took a long time for it to get back to where it came from or where it was. You could have bought in June of 2011 as held, and it took a year and a half to get what you got back. And hoping that you didn't get screwed over in the Gox deal, which of course this is what it was, it would have worked out. Even if you got screwed over on Mount Gox, if you were diversified, so be it. But I remember thinking, you know what? I'd say probably 10 ounces of silver. I was going to think to myself, you know what? I should get a hold of Da Vinci J15, who I've been talking back and forth with, probably back then, definitely in 2009. So he was him and brother John F, as well as maybe Max Kaiser, those three only. Would have been the reason why I knew about Bitcoin pretty much from day one, and why I would have known about it, the price when it was 6 cents. Here, I remember watching it go up in here to 40, back down to 20, that kind of stuff. And then you had the sick run ups, like 50 cents all the way up to 27. And the thought that I should have had was that think of it like a poker tournament. And that's exactly what it would have been. I put in 10 ounces back then. Maybe 10 ounces was 300. Maybe it was 20, whatever it was, 400. It wouldn't have mattered either way. And maybe you'd be like, no, I only do 2 ounces. Okay, well, I still would have worked out well. Now, what would have I done to trade back in this? I probably would have traded back and forth against the dollar. Now, for me, when I started, I probably would have came up with a buy low, sell high system that I'm dealing with now sometime back then. I mean, I've kind of figured it out hours into my trading of cryptos back in 2017. As I had one of those sleepless nights, and one of the sleepless nights because you put a lot of thoughts together. You think, okay, if I do it this way, okay, and then you just try to put it all, and you're like, oh my goodness, this can work, this can work, and it does. But and then of course the next day, and during that time, I was looking at other charts like gold chart and stock market charts, and just testing the waters there, and thinking, yeah, this could work out. Anyway, in such, if you were just in the spot of buying and selling this would have worked out. Now, where the money would have came in is in altcoins, and you really couldn't have traded like LITECOIN and all those other ones, at least not yet. I mean, none of that really started coming into like the 2014 even. And this is after Bitcoin here made it to this top first at 240. So one thing that could have been very common is what you call selling out, in the point of, oh, I had a whole shitload of Bitcoin down here and everything, and next thing you know, it's up to whatever, and you don't have as much. But if you do it right, your portfolio would be doing very well. For if you consider back in here when it was $2.50, we'll even just go for here like $8. or 7 even. You got silver worth, we're talking, say it's May of 2011. Price of silver in May of 2011. We're talking about $30. So here we got even, yeah, 3 ounces of silver. Here I'm getting like 15 Bitcoin. Buying and selling it back and forth. If I sold amongst this run, next thing you know, maybe in here I have like 30 or 40, 50 Bitcoin. And you're like, yeah, 50 Bitcoin, $100, whatever. No, whatever, just a little bit of a small gameplay. And then when you come up towards here, if I still have 30 Bitcoin at $100, and say I haven't had 100, whatever. If I even have 10 Bitcoin even, 10 Bitcoin at $100, that's 10 grand. So I would have profit taken some, and then you would have had this happen. Again, you have to think of the mechanisms a trader you should be in if you're playing this crypto game. How are you not? Now, it would have been a lot harder back then to do it, but it still could have been done. Turning Bitcoin into precious metals. You would have had no choice but to turn it into dollars. There's just, I think, no other mechanism left. So, knowing that even this final move happened, the final play with the final Bitcoin price on Mt. Gox, and it went down to 135 just like that from this high. But this top occurred at the end of 2013. This occurred at the start of February of 2014. So yeah, you should have had a lot of profit taking. And furthermore, when all this was going down, how much of it was on the exchange? How much of it was in hardware wallets and other exchanges at that time? Bitstamp, I think, was available. And let's just take a look. February 2014. If Polo NX is available, February 2014. I don't think so. Let me just take a look at and find out Polo NX. So so yeah, we're looking at the February 2014. Okay, hopefully there we go. And when did this? Yeah, well, man, this is slow. See, here's that thing. January 2014. Interesting. See, if you, I mean, this should have really saved your ass. If you, I mean, I gotta think this would have really saved my ass if I was back trading back then, because I would have liquidated some funds into this. Hopefully, I would have found out about it in time. Put your Bitcoin in there, and then you're now like, okay, now let's just trade Bitcoin with other things like Litecoin. You've seen, oh my, how it was just amazing. All other coins back and forth, and well, now the games would really begin for fun, especially when only price pays and like, okay, this goes from 0.032 down to 0019, just like that. In order to get this, you needed the buy orders, but if you had them in, you had them in. And if you were playing on Poloniex on that day to today, you would have had to have KYC in the middle here at some point, but hey, you're still rocking and rolling with them at least. Your funds have always been available to withdraw, and it would have worked out. So, man, I kind of wonder if sometimes you just got to wonder, is it worth taking that chance with diversification? See, I didn't diversify myself in another act mechanism, and it didn't win for me back then. Kind of sucks. But you know what? That's kind of cool. That's just how it goes. I'm watching a video right now. Crypto investing number 170. I hope not to complete its thumbs down. I'm going to think of a video. Everyone give me a thumbs down to start. If you think it still sucks, keep it as is. If it's not great, but it's not bad, just delete it like that, because it can just go like that. And then, of course, if you think it's good, well, you can just go like that. Uh, so, just stuff like that. But why buying gold and silver during the crypto boom is a dumb move. Well, let's first take a look at it from a mathematical perspective. If you're selling Bitcoin at like 400 bucks, 500 bucks, that can be either used to just be hodled and just held in a private wallet somewhere, or you can put it on exchanges and put in different altcoins back and forth and trade them and try to make your Bitcoin higher, which was easy and still is easy to do. Then I would have to think that it was a bad move, but it's all about risk reward management, at least from my school of thought. And if you're kicking ass with life changing amounts of income, then you have to um, diversify. Put it this way, let's just say you have. Well, another way of putting it is assuming somebody's got 100 grand K of investable money in the economy. I got $100,000. That's when you figure out what I got here set up, and of course a lot of it figures as far as income of the future too. But just throwing that part of aside, where would I put it into now? We have to realize, well, how much cash do you really need based on, of course, your income coming in? So you technically only need like emergency or so much, or stuff you're looking to invest in future situations, sort of like buy orders, if you will. And within the key elements, you have gold and silver, which when I use this, so oftentimes the whole um, safe aspect, unless you can prove to me that there is a much greater than a 99.75 or 99.25% chance that cryptocurrencies will at least come close to holding their value from this point on to a decent amount of time, 5, 10 years. Only gold and silver qualifies for that for me. So a good portion of that has to go into just that for that very purpose. So I would think maybe, heck, even if you put 50K into gold and silver, not at least 50K available. If you put in 10 to 15K in cryptocurrency, that would leave you with 25 to 30K in cash. So we'll put a B like this, like that, just for whatever Bitcoin. One mechanism I like about uh, risk reward management is the decisions that you would ultimately need to make, because you've probably heard economic and investment advisors talk about risk tolerance, all the things you're looking to accomplish and things like this, and that's where this becomes a very large issue for me. Very large. Because what is your risk tolerance? Because if you tell me you want to put 65 of your 65, 70,000 of your 100 into crypto, no, I would not talk you out of it. I would give you reasons for why it could and should be lower, but then I'll give you strategies where, you know what, yeah, you can make this work out, especially when you have the good trading strategy portfolio. But what you're allocating, of course, is larger shots. See, going back to that example, like, okay, yeah, I turned when I bought Bitcoin when it was $30, say, and then we go way up there, 150. I was selling. I was 300, 700. I was selling, and the amount of gold and silver that I was getting back was just phenomenal compared to, of course, the original entry time. See, if you could predict that it was definitely going to go to this, then all you need is $20 to be a billionaire. So you don't know that timing. But you know your investment where you stand. And I'm going to get to this as we do the future move on period. But a good reason why you only need a smaller portion, but you're gonna want to make it, I would think, big enough where it can make you a maximum decent sum along the way. Because within it, you can turn this 10 to 15K into a million pretty easy. I know what turning or we're going past three integer levels, 1000x. or several hundred times or 1,000x gains. What would 100 times, 1,000 times, 2,714.1 times get on something in there? Yeah, a whole shitload. And along the way, of course, would be profit taking. So assume this. Assume we have a situation where we'll use we'll use silver as a hedge mark. Say you don't have any gold. You just bought some silver. And silver right now, we'll just say you bought silver at a price point of $18. And then Bitcoin right now, we'll say you buy it at 8,500. So now we get to a situation where you had 10 grand, we'll say, to invest, which is 10 times less than what I did before. But hey, another example. You're like, man, I want to play this game aggressively. Another person's not so much. So with one, we're going to do a situation of, let me just remove that and see if they'll give me more dates time. Yep. So I put in, say, let's just say 20. One person puts in 2,500 here, and the reverse 7,500. So if you get to a point where, say, things get really good for Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes up to, say, a 60K threshold point. Okay. Now there's a chance silver can have a major breakout, which is exactly why I'd want to hold both. Because I mean, I'm not trying to predict the short-term mechanisms. I know where silver's going in the future. I know, and it already has take a while and has taken a while. But let's just assume it's at a nice little rate. It's gone even up to $50. And you know what? It's even better for this example, of course, if it's even less. So first we're going to flip flop. We're going to use 7,500, 2,500 in two examples. So let's just assume first you had $2,500 worth of Bitcoin. So we've seen it go from 8,500 to 60,000. That would be about a 7 times move. So you can say at 2,500, well, what's 2,500 times 7? Hey, that'd be like 16, 17,000. But no, that's not where the answer is going to be, because it's going to be much higher than that. Because I'm hoping along the way that it's gotten there, that you've gotten into altcoins, you've been flipping them back and forth along the way, and altcoins at this particular time, around when Bitcoin is 60,000, are at tremendous highs. And I'm on here making YouTube videos stating, I mean, it's just sell, 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 sell. What are you selling for? You're selling for Bitcoin. And then you're taking your Bitcoin and you're turning it into real things. Real things, yeah. I don't really, I'm not a big buyer on Bitcoin on the long-term time frame. Even I'm not as bearish, but on coins like Litecoin and all the other cryptos, I still I don't buy the fact they have a very high probability for a very long term, 5, 10 years time kind of deal, and of course beyond. Where silver and gold, to me, yeah, for sure. That's the only one that I can do it on. So it's the safest one to me that's out there. But that's a keyword, safe. Gold being safer, giving you less upside gain potential, easier to sell. And the best part about gold versus silver is the bulk factor. It's easier to hold. And then the buying and selling. You don't have to pay as much above spot, and it's easier to sell in the ratio. You don't get hit on the spread in the real world as bad. So that's what it comes down to for stuff like gold. So it's the ultimate safe one. Silver, I believe, can make you life changing amounts, because one of the things about this video that I want to go over, he's mentioned you can't make like life changing amounts of within it. I believe you can on silver. I totally 100% believe you can. Yes, it hasn't happened yet. But that's the whole point of trying to predict. I mean, by 2040, I mean, the world's going to be way different by then. 2026, 28, 30, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if by then it's like those who have a good amount of silver are very rewarded for holding through their buying low and hopefully selling high for the right situations. But back to that point again. I go with an X, Y, Z for increasing your portfolio using the strategies that I like to, if anyone's ever interested, of course, and I got available on the internet so those who have watched it and are interested can see it. on strategies to increase your portfolio. So Z is how much Bitcoin increases against the dollar. So in this case, we'll say something like a 7 or 8 times gain. But now we need X and Y. Y is how much the altcoins are. We'll say from this point on, which is like a starting point as an example, from that point to the point we'd be talking about. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these coins are on average 5, 7, 10, 20 times higher, okay, against Bitcoin. So we'll say 10. So now 10 times 7 is 70. And even if all you've done is increase your portfolio like 40%, you'd be near 100 times. But you could make that number go 3, 4, 5 during great volatile situations. So you could do a 500x move. And realistically, on the way there, you should have already done a whole bunch of profit taking in here. But we'll just use this for simple mathematical purposes. If I do 500 times on 2,500, well, 100 times would be 250,000. So that would be 1.25 million. No, we'll do it with silver here. So say you had $7,500 in silver, and the price went from like $18 to 50. Well, that means we're almost tripling. So we're somewhere around 20K. Your ratio here was 3 to 1. You had 3 times, well, of course, in this case, it was 3 times as much silver as Bitcoin. What's the ratio of 1.25 million and 20,000? Well, 10 of it would take this to 200,000. Well, 10 of this would go to 200,000. So I would need 50 to go to a million. So now we're looking at like 60 plus ratio. Yeah, why don't you like take some of this off the table? Some of it gets put into this, and gold, and gold, and gold, and gold as well. Gold as well, whatever the price is that, because diversification. Plus, gold's an awesome metal anyway. It really is. At least for touching and looking at it and everything. And it's, I mean, unlike silver, the one thing I hate about silver actually is the fact that you have to really work a little bit and making sure that it doesn't get exposed to air. Gold doesn't give a shit if it does or not because of the whole tarnish deal. But anyway, throwing that part aside, um, yeah, if you have that type of ratio, turn to that. Uh, is there any way you can turn that into grocery bills? Maybe there's some things you want to buy that you would like to invest in the real world. See, that's what I believe you should be doing when you get to crypto booms. Because if cryptos don't work in the long term, you're going to be damn glad that you turned your silver, you turned some of your Bitcoin into gold and silver. Now, even if it doesn't, if the ratio keeps moving and stuff like this, so 60,000 Bitcoin turns into $500,000 Bitcoin and silver's at $110. Look at the ratios just even getting more obscure on Bitcoin and silver. Well, big deal that you made the trade here because did you sell all your cryptocurrencies? If the cryptocurrencies go to nothing, whatever you have is going to go nothing with it. But you realize you enjoy the ride when it ends because you don't know when the roller coaster is going to come to that completion. Maybe, and unlike with the roller coaster, all you can usually see is a little bit in the distance, and because roller coasters go up and down choppy so much, it's not like you're looking straight in the rear view mirror and like you're looking or whatever type of over through the ocean glaze or anything, and you're able to have some sort of very long view distance. It doesn't work that way because of how big things can move in that sense. And so with that, be happy that, okay, I had 1.25 million, let's say in the future. I went ahead, I turned this 1.25 million and I reduced it to 400,000. And then I took like 850,000. Some of that went into gold and silver. Some of that bought me this, and some of that just went into cash and I held cash just to have because I'm rich enough where I can do it. And then I had to pay some taxes. Isn't that fun? But that's all part of the old cryptocurrency venture. And then when the game goes up more, I got 400,000. Okay, XYZ again from that point. Because you know what's probably going to happen at that level? XYZ is going to look better in the future. Because there's a good chance that 400,000 that you have, maybe in 2 months or 6 months, is going to be worth 128,000 or 216,000. Because coins have went down. I've I've lost several X times, and I've gained a lot more X too as well. I gained a lot more on the way up than I have on the way down. But that's all part of the venture of the game. And in diversification, always having currency, fiat currency, precious metals, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in that general sense. To me is what it comes down to. And anything else you can think of that's got good investment. I mentioned earlier about having like baseball card boxes. Stuff you could buy for like, you can buy a whole box of like 36 packs of cards for like $5 or $15 or 10 or 20 or $2. And you buy a bunch of them and you store them in a closet and you just keep them there. Because it could have future good value to it. It may not. But the more investments you have and the more that you win in this game, the more you can play, the more you can talk about buying in a store, which I find very interesting. And just talking more about this video, and I made some notes too. He even mentioned stuff a lot about, I don't know if he went to prison or not. Sounds like he might have. A lot of times I was listening off and on, but he's talking a lot about commissary and stuff to that nature. Commissary is like the store prisoners have, as long as they don't have any bad marks, like in a school kind of deal. They're able to get it. In order to get the funds for it, they need to have someone to give them their money, or they have to work for it. When almost your time, almost in prison, you're almost forced to work as it is anyway, or else you get bad time, which is like solitary confinement and stuff like that. But anyway, he uses a lot of that prison selling money in there, and money is like whatever people are willing to spend back and forth. And you can predict all you want on what money is at the time, and you know what it is now, and you can predict what's going to be in the future. One of the easiest predictions is what is now will be then again still in the future, which is like dollars or fiat. And maybe it still will be, maybe it won't. And if it won't, and maybe there's other things as well, what are they going to be? Well, if you got a whole bunch of things, you might probably have the one that is. Maybe it's gold, maybe it's silver, maybe it's Litecoin, maybe it's Bitcoin, maybe it's ramen noodles. But that's in prison, as that reference was given within that video. But even if it's not silver, I don't think silver would ever be money. But do I ever think stocks in J.C. Penney would ever have been money, or stocks in Amazon? Why do you buy it? It's never going to be money. Why'd you buy that lawnmower? It's never going to be money. Well, of course, you buy it because you need it and you might have the wealth to be able to do it. Especially maybe the nice one that you got, because you're able to, again, you're able to do that. But with silver at 18, I've already given my price prediction for it. It's not, originally it was 1,000. I got videos on that one. 1,000 is my next major key level. And then a significant break after that. So to me, that I think would be life-changing income. That may never happen. But again, time will only tell. The more diversified you are, the better off that you're going to be. Because if you run into situations where something like that happens, oh, gold's doing this and silver's doing this good, and you have it, then that's big. And if you are not a cryptocurrency believer, at least for the long term, like myself, I'm not a believer that's going to fail either. I kind of think that it's going to be very hard for it to succeed. But I don't know. Maybe Bitcoin would be doing amazing things in 2043. But because I don't know, if I have it, then that's all good. As I mentioned, I plan on falling in the Titanic, if you will, with everyone else who's in the boat, if Bitcoin goes down to nothing. But that just means part of my investment does. And it's like, okay, well that roller coaster ride is over, but I'm on several roller coasters at the same time. I'd still be riding the silver roller coaster at that point, and I'd be in a whole bunch of probably other different things as well. And when you can make games out of the situation, it can be something small like I got $500. That's $500. I'm going to put this into cryptocurrencies. I'm going to start off by putting $250 into coin ABC, and I'm going to put $250 into coin DEF. And I'm just going to trade these back and forth because right now all coins I believe are in heavy accumulation mode. When we're in heavy distribution mode, I'll have a lot more than $500 worth. And I'll have to definitely, most definitely, revamp my portfolio, especially if it's worth a much larger sum, XYZ. So now you have, we have again, we use that same thing that you do something like 100, that's 50 grand. And that's, to me, I think we could beat that number. But even at 100, that's 50 grand. We're probably at a point, we'd be probably at a point now where, like, okay, it could easily go to 80 grand, 100 grand, but either way, it's still going to result in the same mannerism for what's going to happen afterward. That 50 grand is going to be worth 20 grand and 10 grand or 30 grand. That 100 grand is going to be worth 70, 50, 40, 20. And that's just going to happen. And when you get to that, well, let's put some of this maybe in dollars. Some of it in crypto dollars, which is like maybe like tethers or of the like. Oh, now what do I do with these tethers? Well, maybe you put them in a hardware wallet and you wait. Oh, and when your portfolio would have been down that much, you're like, geez, I got out of that coin at, say, this particular coin got up to $42, whatever altcoin. Now that altcoin's down to 6. And I mean, last time it had even bigger losses than that before. But you know what? Let me just put in $100 or $500 or $1,000, and you start off with 500. Now you're talking about putting $1,000 small play into that coin. That's the type of lifestyle that you can get within things like that. And then you just keep on accumulating the gold and silver, which you can literally do without ever buying gold and silver without even ever using a dollar is fun. Without ever using dollars. It's like, yeah, buy your gold, buy and or silver, and you can do them together on the or the and rather. But you buy maybe, okay, I'm going to buy a half an ounce of gold. Okay, let's buy a roll of this coin, and I like this one, and I want to buy these 3 1 ounce coins. Okay, order in. Oh, going to pay Bitcoin or Litecoin. Okay, send to this address, copy. For me anyway, you can use your phone, of course. I've never ever used cryptos on a phone before. I probably will at some point, but I never see when or how it'll happen. Well, in a transaction is how, but whatever. That's just general vague. So you get to the point, okay, you send this much Bitcoin or whatever coin you're using to this address. Well, I'll copy that address and just say I'm in a Trezor wallet. I'll paste it. Okay, send this much. I'll copy that amount. Okay, double check the address, double check the amount. Okay, send, confirm, confirm. Then I go to my page. How long is it going to take? And the check mark might be, it's faster than my debit card right now. And interestingly, I had a conversation. I went to the pharmacy recently and I paid via the debit card. And I was mentioning that, well, she was just saying, well, that's the fastest it's been all day. And I'm thinking, that was like 4 seconds. That might have been 3 or 4 seconds. And then I mentioned about cryptocurrencies because I think of this all the time that it always seems that cryptocurrencies are half this or twice as fast as for me when I use it online than Interac or your debit card for your bank account basically. Because every time I use it, it seems it always takes like 3 seconds or so, 4 seconds, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is just so slow. I mean, whatever on 3 seconds, that's to me like nothing and all, but still. And I think, okay, that's cool. So the whole point of this game is, how many ounces of silver and gold can you accumulate? And maybe you can get a large number. For I used that example before of somebody with all that silver, And gold, well, you had like 2,500. Well, if I got to the point where I mentioned before having 1.25 million, and I take, say, 250K of that into put that into silver, and silver's at $50 an ounce, as I was using that early example. Well, 10 ounces would cost me about 500. 100 would be about 5,000. 1,000 would be about 50,000. So I'd get about 5,000 ounces of silver. Yeah, 5,000 ounces of silver. See, we're not playing small park anymore. That's the thing about life-changing amounts. And when it comes down to it, it's all about buying low and selling high. And in the real world, that means selling Bitcoin and of the likes when they are really high. Sort of like the moments that was like to end 2017 into 2018. When those moments appear again, I'll be talking about distribution like no other. And then, oh my goodness, the amount of ounces and gold and silver you got is just phenomenal. But then comes a time where gold and silver prices go higher, and there becomes a flurry to get in. How easy is it to sell all of those metals that you accumulated during this game when that happens? And you know what? Let's put up a silver chart. And the more and more I've been thinking about it, I'm thinking that cryptocurrencies are going to be a bad, but I mean good for me, influence on silver and good for everybody else into the metal. Because I do believe that we're going to have silver traded on the free market. And maybe it's not that they would have an influence on it. It's just I really never knew what free market trading could be like until I actually got to see it within the cryptocurrencies. And none of this to me has ever been in what they call quote unquote free market, all the quote unquote paper market, which I like to call digital market. But in situations back in here, it would have been a lot easier to sell silver now than back then, just because of the time that we're in, and uh, with internet and communications globally and everything. But in a situation of prices breaking up towards these levels, which I think are going to happen. Well, let's just look at the X gain at 300 from where we stand at 17. Now we're looking at near 20X, which in itself is pretty good. But again, using cryptos to fund, to accumulate the amount that you own. You can go from being just playing a little small dime game, $500, something you put into a poker tournament. And even at that, that's only a pretty okay poker tournament. And you're just trying to see what happens with it. Maybe you lose the tournament, which means when you put it in the cryptocurrency, you had the bad timing. It was just moments away to going to nothing, and you lost. You know what? So be it. That's what happens in the poker game. You lose, and that's what happens in the trading game. But if you don't lose that game, you're playing around with your balance. You start with 500, that goes up to 6,000. Okay, I'm pulling $500, $600 out to buy a small order of gold and silver or whatever. Great. And then you go up to like 20, 30K. I'm gonna spend 2, 3,000 into some stuff. Okay, go right ahead. Oh, you're at 100,000. You're at 500,000. You're at 2 million. You're at 7 million. You're at 28 million. These are realistic things that can happen. And then you look at your portfolio in a situation where, say, it even does this type of stuff like this, not maybe to 29, but even still, definitely if it does it till then, if you look at your whole life perspective in portfolio, if we go multiple decades, but spots where you're able to buy it below this major $50, 60 even, $65 threshold. And then you get up to these levels where you go up to here. And now you're like, okay, I bought all of this in here for whatever time frame. Maybe that be 3 years. Maybe it might have only been a year, given how fast it could go. But whatever that period of time, and you got a whole bunch of people trying to buy silver, and you got a whole bunch of silver. Well, you're selling when people are buying because they're panicking, probably because the fiat currency is losing so much value. And, well, of course, it's now in the news about silver, and well, maybe these dealers are running out or they're just charging such a hefty amount on premium. And that's amazing. If they do the point where they're charging hefty premium, it's like, yeah, so we got silver, say, at 325. Oh, well, they're not selling an ounce cheap. They can't buy it for under 400, eh? Wow. That shucks to be you. So I wouldn't say that, but well, I'd say shitty, man. Might say that. I can sell it to you for 360. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I got a 10-ounce bar, 3600. Okay. I need to buy me a wheelbarrow to because I'm getting me some cash, and then the whole point of it is it would be a lot easier, and you have it to accumulate. And just as when you're selling the cryptos into silver, you're only going to sell so much of what you have. Maybe all you have is like 18,000 ounces of silver. So all you want to get rid of is maybe 1,000 or two. And I'm realistically sarcastic talking about those numbers. If you're somebody that's hoping to get to 500, 1,000, or 2,000 ounces of silver, or you're somebody that's working on a four-figure investment bankroll, or even five-figure bankroll for that matter, and you're like, no. I mean, these days are so realistic. And if you have a five-figure bankroll right now, even if it's 10 grand in cryptos, you are in good shape, I think, to become a multimillionaire. If you do it right. I mean, all we have to do on the XYZ with a $10,000 bankroll is do 100 to get to 1 million. It's all about the game and how you play it. I guess it's a two-part video. I'm going to watch the conclusion of this video because because what I got notes on here is, we call it it's this one here. Gold, this is what he says. Gold going up to 5,000, I would, even if gold, yes, he says if gold went up to 5,000, I would not buy it because Ethereum and other cryptos would go way up more. I mean, if you mean it now because of that, because you're taking the chance, well, I believe in having both in that sense. If you really need to take a chance because you got small enough bankroll and you don't buy gold and silver, yeah, I mean, there's one person I'm going to be talking to about that right now, where you're like, you know what? There's not a big deal holding up, like having gold and silver right now, and working towards getting it, because I pretty much know how I would, if I was in that situation, I would know what to do, and that's why I say, damn right. But uh, when crypto's in a boom, because let's say during the crypto boom, why buying gold and silver during the crypto boom is a dumb move. See, right now we're not in a crypto boom. I believe we're in heavy accumulation mode among alternate coins, the crypto game itself. And I believe we are in accumulation mode amongst Bitcoin. No, I'm on 25 minute 25. I thought it'd be a good idea to make notes. At 25 minutes, 19 seconds, that's where I'm at now in a 40-minute video, so I got 15 minutes to watch. I'll probably do that before I go to bed. It's 10:27 p.m. I actually want to watch the end of the football game now. He asked a question and started to answer, is there a good time to get into precious metals? And he says, yeah. Well, I'm going to say because for me, it's so simple. Like I stated, you go to your online store that you go to and you make the trade. You meet up with a person you know that is willing to sell their gold and or silver to you for cryptos, and you make a private personal trade. It's just the type of stuff that's got to be done in this game. But again, when precious metals go much higher, to be able to have that much silver and gold and be like, you know what, the times are good. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.